BS fact. Tony Romo is a curse to your team. The Charlotte Hornets are back. Steve Kerr is officially out of Phil Jackson's family plan. And Nick Young, a.k.a. Swaggy P, hoops with God on Sundays. This is the BS Podcast Show. I'm your host, Brandon Fryer, a.k.a.
The Fry Guys.
If you didn't get my whole Swaggy P and God, the reason why I said they hoop on Sundays is because he did an interview and they asked Nick Young, a.k.a. Swaggy P, where did he get his nickname from, Swaggy P? Because where's the P coming from? There's no P in Nick Young last time I checked. So apparently he had an interview. He said, he just said he had a dream and he talked to God and God called him Swaggy P and said he should call himself Swaggy P. And he said, you know what, God, I'm going to call myself Swaggy P. And he said ever since he's been calling himself Swaggy P, he don't even know his real name anymore, which is Nick Young because it's on the back of his jersey. I know he's being funny with that. So apparently Nick Young and God, they hoop on Sundays. They kick it all the time. He the one who gave him his name. So if you want to know where Swaggy P came from, it came from the G-O-D. But welcome to another episode of this BS Podcast Show. I'm your host, Brandon Fryer, a.k.a. The Fryer Guy. We have a great show for you, man. We're going to talk some NBA hoops. We're going to get into that local stuff. Yo-ish. I got an interview. I was at the NBA Draft Combine this past weekend, and I talked to Dante Exum. He's probably the most unknown top draft prospect because no one ever really seen this game. He's from Australia, international prospect. Everybody's talking about Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Joel Embiid, Julius Randle, Marcus Smart, all the players there. But Dante Exum could sneak up and be in that top 3, probably a top 5 pick. He's going to be that name where you're like, who is he? I'm telling you, I got an interview with this kid. You should hear it. It's dope. It's going to be on our Side of Fries interview. That's what I like to call it. And I'm going to give you a little lottery thing. I'm going to give you my projected NBA fixed draft lottery, the BS version. So the draft lottery is coming on later tonight. You're going to see who really gets the number 1 pick, but I'm going to say who I think is going to get it. Why not? It ain't going to hurt. And, we got play of the game, full of bull, halftime. We're going to do something a little interesting. Look forward to that. So we got a great show. But before we get into any of that, what we got to do. We got to get you caught up this week, and let's get you caught up with this BS update. Let's start in the NBA. Steve Kerr spurs the Knicks for the head coach position to join the Golden State Warriors and become their head coach. Stan Van Gundy agrees with the Detroit Pistons to become their head coach and president of basketball operations. The Portland Trail Blazers signed head coach Terry Stotts to a multi-year extension. Sources says that Donald Sterling has hired a lawyer and he plans to sue the NBA. However, the NBA counterattacked that and said that they're going to start the termination progress of Donald Sterling by removing him from ownership of the Clippers, and they're going to set a hearing on June 3rd. Serge Ibaka is out for the entire postseason after injuring his calf. Former Golden State head coach Mark Jackson agrees with ESPN to become their NBA analyst. It's a multi-year deal. Memphis shakes up their front office because they fired their CEO and their assistant general manager. There's a report that Mark Cuban hired FBI agents to investigate the NBA refs. In the NFL, there's a report that the NFL will reduce the pot discipline and they would add HGH testing. The O Network has decided to postpone the Michael Sam documentary. Former Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez was indicted on his second murder charge. The Browns signed a pair of wide receivers in Miles Austin and Earl Bennett, and they released wide receiver Greg Little. The Rams released their former starting running back Darrell Richardson with the pickup or the acquisition of running back Trey Mason they got in the draft. The Bears and wide receiver Brandon Marshall agree on a 3-year, $30 million extension. Brandon Marshall will donate $1 million of that money to the medical health community. Colts defensive end / linebacker Robert Mathis was suspended for 4 games for substance violation. In boxing, Floyd Mayweather will reportedly set his next fight on September 13th. His opponent has yet to be announced. In the NHL, Penguins fire their GM Ray Sherman, and Montreal goaltender Carey Price is out for the entire Eastern Conference Finals. In MLB, former head coach for the St. Louis Cardinals, or manager, Tony La Russa was named chief baseball officer of the Arizona Diamondbacks. In the NCAA, Kevin Ollie and UConn agree on a contract extension that will pay him about $3 million annually. Oregon State's basketball team named their new head coach Wayne Tinkle. Chris Mack and Xavier's basketball coach agree on a 2-year extension as named official. In horse racing, California Chrome wins the 2014 Preakness. That is the second leg on his way to a Triple Crown, which is coming up next, will be the Belmont. And let's get into some hoops in our first quarter. I want to get into the Spurs and Thunder real quick. One thing you notice, obviously I reported in the BS update, Serge Ibaka is out, and it's a real hit for the Thunder. As you can see, KD during game 1 was getting extremely frustrated. He wasn't getting the calls that he liked. And Manu Ginobili just stepped up and balled. And I really like Kawhi Leonard. This man is raising his game to the next level, because eventually once those old guys are out, and Duncan and Parker and Ginobili, that's Kawhi Leonard's team. And he's really stepping up more. I understand that he likes to give the big three and get them involved, but he can really take over a game if he wanted to. He's really just playing in the system. One thing that I noticed, it's definitely a coaching advantage on the Spurs side. I mean, Greg Popovich is obviously one of the best coaches in the NBA, especially right now and in the past years. Scott Brooks looks like a shell of himself. The one lineup that I was looking for in that whole thing, you lost Ibaka, so why not have your probably 2 next best defenders in the front court in Nick Collison and Steven Adams, who's a promising young big. I didn't see that lineup. I saw Perkins a lot, and I saw them go small a lot, having KD play some 4, but it wasn't enough, because the Spurs have depth, and the Spurs have definitely front court depth. If that, you got Thiago Splitter, Boris Diaw, you got Tim Duncan. It goes on and on. So you could tell Durant was getting frustrated. I expect him to have a big night, but this looks like things to come from Game 1. Game 1 kind of sets the tone of what to expect a little bit, and really, that's how I see this series. Kevin Durant's going to get extremely frustrated unless he has a big night, or Westbrook have a big night, or one of these role players step up and try to be that third option, and Reggie Jackson, Jeremy Lamb, or Steven Adams, Tabo. One of them have to step up in order for the Thunder to overcome, because without Ibaka, you can see it. Ginobili and Leonard, they was just getting easy drives to the bucket because you don't have that rim protector in Ibaka no more. And I hate to say it, it looks like it's going to probably be a rematch to me of the Spurs and the Heat. Now, with the Heat, they ran into a little trouble with the Pacers. Now, I know what you're thinking of the Pacers. The Pacers just so up and down. And I think the Heat kind of took them for granted because, I mean, if like all of us, we all took the Pacers for granted because you don't know what you're getting from the Pacers. One minute they look like the Pacers of old, look like they're dominated, they look like they're number 1 team in the East, and then the other time they look like that team that almost lost to an 8th seed. But the Pacers always match up well with the Heat. Now, I had the Heat actually winning this game and winning the whole series in about 6. But with that being said, it's a great matchup for the Pacers. I think the Heat need to activate Greg Oden. I know he's not there yet, but the reason why you got Greg Oden was for this series. And I think really the Pacers, even though with all their troubles, this was the matchup they was looking forward to. They didn't care about the Hawks. They played kind of just looked like they was coasting through like the end of the regular season against the Hawks and the Wizards. But they're finally here, and this is the team that they wanted. This is the team they wanted to beat, and they got that home court advantage. And you saw it. The Pacers getting all the calls. The Heat really wasn't at the free throw line as much, and the Pacers had one of the best shooting nights probably of the entire NBA season. They shot for, I think, probably about 50% or more from the three-point line. Like, every shot was going in, and the stars were stepping up. But the Pacers got to have a game like that, and the Heat got to have a game like that in order for the Pacers to win. So with that being said, I still gonna give it to the Heat. And the reason why I'm still giving it to the Heat, granted, they always kind of lose the first game. Trust me, we're here in Chicago. We had the Bulls. We always beat the Heat in the first game, and we're going crazy like, oh my God, 3 more. The Heat are the type of team that can go through adversity and lose a game and then come back and just probably win the next 4. Not saying they will. I said this series is going in 6. However, though, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade probably need to elevate their game a little bit more. And I think Spoelstra needs to add Greg Odom into that lineup to kind of mess up Roy Hibbert and throw him off his game. Next quarter. It's time for my Side of Fries interview. And with that being said, I talked to top draft prospect who you probably don't know about that you need to know about because he's probably going to be a top 5, maybe sneak into that top 3 pick in this 2014 NBA draft. It's Dante Exum, Australia, point guard, 6'6". They comparing him saying he's the next Penny Hardaway. Well, he was at the draft combine. I was there checking out some of the players, and I got a chance to talk to him. And even though he didn't participate too much in the draft combine, we talked about, since he's over here in LA working out, what's some things he worked on.
I've been going twice a day, shooting in the morning, strength conditioning after that, and then a skills workout with some trainers. And it's been a good process for me, and just, I guess, fine-tuning everything that I need to work on.
I also asked him what's some things that he feel like he needs to improve on in order to get to that next level in the NBA.
I think what I've really tried to work on was definitely obviously shooting. Everyone can get better at shooting, and that's one thing me and the trainer definitely try to get better at. Also, finishing on the rim. Stepping up to the next level is going to be a huge jump. So finishing and post moves. So as a taller guy, it's a good.
Then I asked him, is it a good thing that he's being such an unknown and such an under-the-radar prospect? Does it kind of help or hurt his cause in this NBA draft?
Yeah, it both has its advantages and disadvantages because they haven't seen me since last year, July. But also, I guess I stayed hidden in a way. But yeah, so it works both ways.
And with that being said, I might as well give my BS fixed lottery. They say the NBA lottery is fixed anyway, so hey, why not fix it the BS way, BS version of that matter? So the number 1 pick, I'm going to actually give it to the Utah Jazz. I feel like this is a team, it's a good, strong, solid franchise that always competes. Granted, they've been down, but they never try to tank it to lose. So why not give it to Utah? They've been a historic franchise with back in the days with Karl Malone and John Stockton. Give them the number 1 pick, and they can pick between, Andrew Wiggins or Jabari Parker. I feel like they'll choose Jabari. Then, number 2, I'm going to give it to Philadelphia. Even though they had that horrible losing streak and they almost set the record, but they always were competitive. They got some promising players in Michael Carter-Williams, and then you got Noel. So you could add an Andrew Wiggins or something like that, maybe. I'm not going to really fully give my picks of who they should get. Then the 3rd, the team with the worst record who got the best chances, I'm going to move them down to the 3rd slot, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks. 4th, I'm going to give it to the Orlando Magic. Then 5th, I'm going to give it to Boston Celtics. Maybe they can get them a big or somebody, a nice little piece. 6th, I'm going to give it to the Lakers. They're going to need something. Maybe they can get a Julius Randle or Aaron Gordon, Marcus Smart, who knows. Then 7th, I'm going to give it to the Sacramento Kings. 8th, I'm going to give it to Detroit. 9, I'm going to give it to Cleveland. 10 is really New Orleans pick, but it's going to go to Philly. So Philly's going to be number 10. 11, Denver. 12 is Orlando. 13 is Minnesota. And 14 is Phoenix. So hopefully, let's see how my fixed lottery is going to compare to the actual lottery that's going to come up tonight on ESPN. Check it out. Let's get into halftime. So Oprah's network decided to postpone the Michael Sam documentary about him being a gay football player, entering the NFL and pursuing his dream, which I think was a smart move, because if Michael Sam is all about football, it should be all about football, not this whole show process. He should be trying to make the team as a special teams player and a rotational defensive player. But with that being said, I decided, you know what? If they're going to postpone this show, what other like sport athletes or sport figures should get their own reality show? And how about this one? We got The Bachelor, right? So why not have Johnny Manziel do his Bachelor thing as he's looking for his wide receiver? I think that'd be a great show because Josh Gordon's gone. Why not have like a whole contest and there's a whole bunch of free agent wide receivers and they just coming up to him like, I should be your number 1 target. I mean, so much to you. We would be perfect together. Just throw the ball in my hands and we can be a great couple together. Like, I can picture something like that. As Johnny Manziel standing there with a rose, or let's take the rose out. Let's make it a football. And he's doing it, and then he just, I choose you. And he throws the ball at the receiver. They'll probably drop it, though, because, God, the wide receiver core in this free agency class now is just garbage. Miles Austin, I guess that's going to be his pick. Then, how about this? Hard Knocks with the Alabama Crimson Tide. You know, you got the Hard Knocks with the NFL teams. Let's do a college team. Let's do Alabama. And why not Alabama? They're the number one team. And apparently, or allegedly, they give Corvettes and cars and all types of stuff to their recruits. You know, you saw Pat White said, oh, Alabama offered me a car and I turned it down. And then Nick Saban, you know, even though he wasn't there during that time when Pat White was there, he was like, you know, kiss my ass pretty much. Because he's like, this has got to be ridiculous. We're talking about this, but I think that'd be pretty interesting to see how they prepare for their season and go behind the scenes and see all the players' lifestyles and stuff like that. And we can see how that guy really did get that car for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Then next, you know the show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? But how about this? We take a little spin at who wants to take shots at a billionaire in Donald Sterling. See all the people who want to like just come at Donald Sterling, just everybody, like Magic. You got a game show and you got to answer all these questions just to take a shot or a punch at Donald Sterling. I think that'd be pretty interesting. And then with that being said, so with him being gone, the NBA trying to get rid of Donald Sterling, let's have the show The Apprentice for being the Clippers owner. So you have like Magic Johnson, Oprah Winfrey, and Floyd Money Mayweather, and Rick Ross, Diddy, all of them. Just have them all compete to see who would be the right Clippers owner. And then, how about we have American Idol for like probably the most like infamous sports athletes like Johnny Manziel, Tony Romo, Tim Tebow, A-Rod, LeBron, Jameis Winston. How about we see all of them and see who's really America's idol? Who does America love between those players? Or we could do this, last one, the real Pacers of Indiana. Like the Real Husbands of Hollywood or the Real Housewives of whatever city they're in. How about we just have the real Pacers of Indiana so we can see what is going on with the Pacers? Who are the real Pacers? Are they the number one seed Pacers? Are they the team that loses almost to an 8th seed? I think that'd be pretty interesting reality shows. Let's get back into the quarter. Here in the third quarter, we're going to get into a little local standpoint since we're here in Chicago. And let's start off with the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, they took game 1 away. Game 2 is Wednesday. Took it away from the Kings. One of the things I noticed, Corey Crawford needs a little bit more credit as a goaltender. You know, like every year, Chicago fans always overreact over Corey Crawford. Maybe he's not the elite goaltender. Remember, earlier this year, they was talking about we need to trade for Ryan Miller. Look, Corey Crawford's going to get your job done, do what he needs to do. I think he should be in that elite category, to me. Granted, if you want to compare it to the goaltenders that's here now, that's remaining in the playoffs, yeah, he's probably the last one you probably want, but he's a winner. And when you got a team like that, he does his job. He don't need to be great or superb. He just needs to do his job and do the bare minimum. And it works. He's a champion. So get off the man's back. But anyway, another thing I took notice, this is definitely different from the last time that the Blackhawks played the Kings last year. The reason why I said that, Taves has stepped up more this postseason than he did in the previous season. Last postseason, he only had 3 goals, postseason goals. Now he has 6 and counting, so he almost doubled that. And the one thing that's different, the Blackhawks are stopping the Kings' front line way better. Even though the Kings' front line is more offensive now because they added like Justin Williams, but they got different matchups. They're not just going power for power matchups Quenneville's going for. He's doing a different strategy and actually putting different matchups in there to kind of relieve Taves so he don't have to probably defend the best player, which opens up his opportunity to relax more on defense and score on offense. That's why the man got 6 postseason goals. Another thing, let's get to the Bears. Like I said before, Brandon Marshall signed a 3-year, $30 million extension. To me, there's no more excuses for the Bears. Mel Tucker can't say, oh, look at my injury on my defense. They got depth and competition. Phil Emery gave you what he said he was going to give you. It's competition everywhere. There is depth behind on the defense and on the offensive side. There is no excuses for the Bears, to me, not to get into the playoffs. And I feel like there's a good chance that they should be the division champs. So there's no excuses. Mel Tucker, there's no excuses for you either. It's time to get into the playoffs. It's time to make some noise. Let's get into the Bulls real quick. You hear the rumors. Kevin Love, he wants to be traded. All these teams want him. He prefers the Warriors and the Bulls. Here's my thing. Who would I choose between Kevin Love or Carmelo Anthony? It's tough because Kevin Love is younger. I think about 6 years younger than Melo. But I'm still going to go with Melo. I've been preaching this for the longest, and I've been on this Melo to the Bulls bandwagon for a minute. They need perimeter scoring. They need a swingman scorer. No more of this little guards doing that. Even though I do feel like Kevin Love would fit right with Derrick Rose, a healthy Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah. But I feel like Melo has that more killer instinct. I feel like Kevin Love is not even a superstar. I feel like he's a star. He's that type of player who's actually a Robin. Because if he was such a superstar, he would at least lead the Timberwolves into the playoffs. I don't care if the West is tough. Look, Melo, even though his team, and you want to question if he's a superstar or not, Melo at least led his team to the playoffs multiple times. Now, getting past that is the question that he has, and that's his thing that's on his back that he's trying to erase. But Melo has that more killer instinct. To me, he's more of a 1 or a 1A scoring option, while Kevin Love to me is more of a second scoring option, honestly. And we don't even know how Kevin Love's defensively. He might be worse than Boozer. So we might be repeating this all over again. He may never come in crunch time because he can't play defense. Melo, you can at least, he's a little bit better defender than you guys think. So with that being said, I'm choosing Melo over Love. And another thing we need to stop. I'm sorry. We need to stop this whole forget Melo, forget Love. We just need to build the best team. No. If you look at all the sports, they are built off superstars, especially NBA. The only team that you can say that won off a complete team is the Detroit Pistons. And what was that, like 2004 or something? That's 10 years ago. Look, this is a new age right now, okay? And it's a superstar-driven league, okay? And even that Piston team had about 5 All-Stars in their whole starting lineup. You look at the Bulls, how many All-Stars you can count right now on their roster? It's 2. Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose, okay? So you need superstars. You need Melo. I don't want to hear, oh, we just need another scorer. Let's get a Jamal Crawford, a Nick Young, a Ben Gordon. That's not going to get you past anybody. You're going to be right in the same position trying to figure out, okay, now what we did. I'd rather go for it big, go for the superstar. Tibbs wants him. The front office kind of filling him. Noah wants him. Derrick Rose don't mind having Melo. Get Melo here. And then Melo can probably be your 1 or your 1A scoring option along with Derrick Rose. You got a good perimeter and you can fill out. You could probably keep Taj. If you don't, you can. There's tons of Tajes out there in the NBA. There's not too many Melos. And let's please stop this whole Tibbs is going to leave. He's going to go to Memphis. He's going to go here. Just stop all that, okay? Yes, sometimes the front office and coaches don't get along. Tibbs got 3 years left on his contract. Now, this question can come when, like, he's almost out of his contract in the last year. He has 3 years left, okay? Okay, so to stop the Fred Hoiberg coming to the Bulls if Tibbs leaves, forget that, okay? Tibbs is the coach of the Bulls, and he's the main key why players probably want to come to the Chicago Bulls. They're competitive. Tibbs makes them competitive. You take him out and you add in Fred Hoiberg. Melo don't want to come here. I don't know about Kevin Love, maybe because he's cool with Fred Hoiberg, but that's the reason why Melo wants to come here. Tibbs, I mean, you don't even know what you're getting from Rose. So you banking on a healthy Rose and you banking on Joakim Noah in this court. Like, that's what you need. Next quarter. It's time for my favorite segment, Your Ish. You send me your questions via Twitter at This BS Show, and I answer them right here on this segment. Let's start off with my homie. This is the fan right here. This is part of the crew. Yeah, we in here, crew. My homies. Always the bad guy. Does Andrew Bynum get a ring if the Pacers win it all? I think he does, because there's trainers, there's a whole bunch of people that get rings that you don't know. It ain't just that team and the coaching staff and the front office. A lot of people get it. I remember when the Spurs won the championship and they gave some rings to, like, I think at the time, James White, the dunker, who like played for the Knicks like 2 seasons ago. But the dunker, he got a ring and he was on the NBDL team of the Spurs, but he came up and played a couple of games. And he came or sat on the bench and get no tick. But the fact that he was on the NBA roster for a few days, he got a ring. So I feel like Andrew Bynum's probably going to get a ring too. It wouldn't shock me if the Pacers win at all. If he doesn't, though, that don't shock me either. But I think Andrew Bynum does get a ring if the Pacers win at all. Next, he's back again, man. I got familiar faces. Ike for Gospel. He said, with a quarter of the MLB season done, who do you think should win the AL Rookie of the Year? It's tough because you got Jose Abreu for the White Sox. He's doing a tremendous job. Me as a homer, I feel like I want him to win it. He's hurt right now, and the Sox are not really what he's doing for that team. It's not really helping the White Sox in getting wins. Even though they're doing okay, they're being competitive, but they're still kind of unknown. Tanaka, to me, is the AL Rookie of the Year because he's also doing unbelievable things pitching, and it's kind of translating into the New York Yankees being relevant. They're in first place, and they're the New York Yankees. They're a bigger market than Chicago. Hate to say it, but he's probably going to end up winning. Unless maybe he wins the AL Cy Young, and then Jose Abreu, if he continues doing what he's doing, maybe he wins the Rookie of the Year. Next up, Reality Records said, do you got California Chrome making history and getting that triple crown? I do. I really do, Reality, man, because they let him wear the little nasal strips. I don't know if that's going to help or not. California Chrome, I actually watched the Preakness. Believe it or not, I watched the Preakness, and just seeing it, I really became more of a horse racing fan after watching that. And, of course, I want to see history, too. But I think it's a good chance. The way he racing, if he gets the same jockey, I think he has a great chance of winning the Triple Crown. And I hope he does because I want to see some history getting made. My BS player of the game goes to Lucy Lee. And the reason why, because she's 11 years old and she qualifies for the 2014 Women's U.S. Open. It's a big deal because she is the youngest to ever qualify. So that is a big accomplishment. So Lucy Lee, you are this week's BS player of the game. My Fuller Bull goes to Toronto Raptors point guard Grievous Vasquez. He said that Kevin Durant will lead the Toronto Raptors to a championship one day. He believes, because he's friends with Kevin Durant back in the days when they were young, that Kevin Durant, his favorite franchise, because of Vince Carter, was the Toronto Raptors. And he feel like once free agency comes, he's going to pick the Toronto Raptors. And he's not only going to pick them, he's going to lead them to the championship. There's one thing wrong with that. He's not going to the Toronto Raptors. Okay? Regardless if that's his favorite team or not, that's the team growing up with. He is not going to go there unless you got some nice pieces where he can feel like he can win. He is not going there. He got better chances with OKC. Even though OKC gives a hard time, I think he'll choose them over Toronto. Look, Derrick Rose loves the Chicago Bulls, but if they ain't getting it together, he's going to leave too. So let's get this straight, okay? So, Grievous Vasquez, do not feed me bull and call it sugar grits. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining, Grievous. Calm down. Relax. I want y'all to go on my Tumblr page. Check it out. We got the video of Jameis Winston still in those crab legs. We got the Game of Thrones NBA edition, making fun of the NBA playoffs. We got our picks on there. We have a YouTube channel. Go on our Tumblr page. That's thefryguyBS.tumblr.com. Check it out. Go on there. Click the link. We have our YouTube channel up with all our past shows on there. Or just go on YouTube and type in this BS podcast show, and it'll give you all our shows. And make sure you subscribe to us. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank Angela Lewis. Thank Devin Washington, Lawrence Holmes, Jonathan Hood, Connor McKnight, the Game family. You, the listeners, for tuning in and giving me your feedback. I appreciate it. And remember, life is a game. So play hard all 4 quarters. This has been another edition of This BS Podcast Show with me, Brandon Fryer, a.k.a. The Fry Guy. See y'all next week. 2 fingers in the air. Peace.
Bye-bye. Trip. I'm out of here anyway. Peace out.